If you want some, come get some. This is the 50th episode of the Full Coverage Football Show. My name is Jeremy Summerall. That is my co-host, Mr. Drew Ward. Brother, how you doing tonight?
Great, sir. How are you?
You know, I can't complain. 50 episodes in. We're here to talk some football. Brother, you doing well tonight?
Everything's good, man. We got a good football game finally on Thursday night. It was kind of weird last week with no game. Mm-hmm. But it's back, and it should be fun. It should be a shootout. I'm looking forward to it.
Russ and Kyler, we'll talk about them more later. Who you got winning this game, though?
Seattle.
I'm going to take Arizona. We'll see who's right.
That's going to be me.
Probably. I'm going to give you that one. You're usually pretty good with the Seattle picks. You are the let Russ cook guy. You are the big Russ fan.
Love me some Russ.
But let's get the show started tonight. And by doing so, we're going to bring on Dr. DFS.
Dr. DFS.
At Detroit, BC. Chris, welcome to the show, brother. How you doing tonight?
Thanks for having me. I've never been called Dr. DFS before. It kind of has a nice little ring to it, though.
I thought so. I wrote it down earlier. I'm like, hopefully I remember to use that. We'll see if I do. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. You can follow Chris on Twitter at Detroit, BC. Check out his work on Fantasy Pros. Be sure to check out Bottom of the Barrel every week because he just kills it. And if you're doing any DFS, if you're doing FanDuel, if you're doing DraftKings, check out that article because it's going to save you money on your salary cap and it's going to help you win. Brother, tonight we got a good game. We got Seattle. We got Arizona. Who are some guys we should be looking at in this game that we should probably put in our lineup if we still have time to do so on DraftKings or FanDuel?
Yeah, it's a great question because Drew messaged me maybe about less than an hour ago or so. You know, just like a real quick starter sit question: Hyde or Chase Edmonds? Not to put your business out. I'm not giving your phone number and your address out. But
I was to help a friend.
I have Chase Edmonds like by a half a point here, and if you're looking at certain things, Chris Carson is not playing yet again, and that's bad news for the seasonal owners. But long term, he'll be okay. I love a guy like David Moore, the wide receiver for Seattle, who should see a little bit of an uptick. I'm not saying 100 yards and a score here, but if you look at his price, let me type it in here. Real quick, if I may. David Moore, he's $8,000. I'm talking like the single game prices, because if 8,000 is like Christian McCaffrey, but DeAndre Hopkins is 13.5, Lockett is 13, even Larry Fitzgerald is only $7,500 for him. So I like David Moore as a nice little pivot here in some cases. I have my lineups right here in front of me. I can read you some of the ones that I'm using here this evening. So I have one. I like this one for a big tournament. Carlos Hyde at the MVP position. This just screams to me, 2 touchdown kind of day. Bo Scarborough, he's only $5,000 on FanDuel. He played here for the Lions. DeAndre Hopkins, Russell Wilson, and Kyler Murray. Anytime I play a single game slate, I always make sure I get both quarterbacks in the game there, no delay. So obviously Kyler Murray is going to be my MVP in as many lineups as I can get. DJ Dallas makes for a nice little flex play here this evening. Guys I would stay away from would be, I hate to say this, but because I'm a DK Metcalf slappy, but I think I would prefer Tyler Lockett over DK this evening. Obviously, it's a single game. You want to start both guys, but hand to the fire. If I had to choose one, it would be Tyler Lockett. Of the Arizona wide receivers, Christian Kirk is a full send for me, full go. He's $10,500 on FanDuel. Seattle's defense is 32nd. It's like the plus matchups. I say it all the time. And it's such a good thing. Like they're 32nd overall, and there's only 32 teams in the league here, so something has to give. Larry Fitzgerald, I have to say, is a nice little a salary saver, right? He's $7,500. Want nothing to do with Andy Isabella, and I mean that's about it. Of course, you're going to have, it's a single game. So if you're in a big tournament, you have to be damn near perfect if you want to win, anything big. But for me, my normal MO is just get in the big $1 or $2 GPP. There's like 100,000 people in there. I just want a piece of the pie. Not looking to win $100,000 on a single game entry. If I want to win 100K, I'll go play slot machine somewhere. So you have to be damn near perfect. So, Dan Arnold, Arizona's tight end, he's 5,500. Greg Olsen, Will Disley, and Jacob Hollister, all viable tight ends this evening, and their prices range from 6,500 for Olsen. Disley is 55, and Hollister is $7,000. Of the three, I would go Will Disley. He's the cheapest one, so you're getting more boom for your buck here, boys.
Very nice. So anyone watching the game, getting into their DFS right now, excellent advice for you as you go into tonight's game. How about as we head into the weekend? Who are some guys who you're really high on that might not be costing a lot of money in any of these DFS leagues?
Well, first and foremost, I think it'd be silly if I didn't mention Jameis Winston here. So Jameis Winston, New Orleans, they're playing at home against Atlanta. Atlanta is 32nd overall against opposing quarterbacks. He's $7,200 on FanDuel, and he's $5,900 on DraftKings. And I have my trusty note cards here. Nice tight session here I wanted to give you boys. So Jameis Winston, he's played 9 games against the Falcons in his career. 4-5, got like we'll just call it a 66% completion rating. And he's got an absolutely great touchdown to interception ratio, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions here. So I'd like to think not only for Sunday. I feel like today's Saturday for some reason. I feel like Jameis Winston, no doubt. Jameis Winston, to me, he has like a 250 passing yards and a 200 touchdown. Like that's his floor to me. So on Sunday, these are my personal projections. About 265, 275 passing yards and about 2 touchdowns. 4 or 5 carries for 20 yards here. So at the price, makes for a fantastic play.
Absolutely. Can't go wrong with that. I love the throwing a card there. How about Mike Davis this weekend? Mike Davis seems to have disappointed the last couple of weeks when he stepped in for an injured calf. Are we still going with him if the value's there?
Well, here's the thing. I would go with him, but it's the last part of your sentence that you said. The value is no longer there. He's $7,400 on FanDuel. And so obviously they bumped him up almost damn near $3,000 here. Now the matchup is sweet. They're playing the Lions. They're at home against the Lions. The Lions happen to be 32nd overall against opposing running backs here. So I think, we're a week too early on Davis, and early but late at the same time, because as I've said, his price has just skyrocketed now. So I don't know how I feel about it. The first time I've thought of Mike Davis or anybody's asked me about Mike Davis, my personal projections about 14 or 15 carries, 60 yards, so about 4.3 a pop. He'll find the end zone on the ground. So you're looking at about 17 or 18 fantasy points for seasonal formats. Obviously, with FanDuel or DraftKings, their scoring is a little bit different. So at the price, I'm going to fade in a majority of especially tournaments, because I've seen a lot over the years. People, they missed out on Mike Davis and his price last week, so they think they can catch up by playing him this week. So you're going to have very high ownership at a higher price tag that one I'm comfortable with for a running back. But then I talk myself out of it like I just did, and then I talk myself back into it because they're playing the Lions. So
does it make any difference to you at all? Reports are Teddy Bridgewater might not play. Does that diminish his value? Do you think that actually increases his value? I mean, it's hard to tell, but with as far as, and we'll hit bottom of the barrel here, I'm sure, but bringing in a backup, the inability to move the ball, I think they're going to struggle, which may not be in his favor.
Yeah. I don't think, looking at his value, depending on what the quarterback is, on certain teams, like in Kansas City, it would be a huge red flag. You downgrade everybody. But in Carolina, a guy like PJ Walker, what was the XFL or the
Houston Roughnecks?
Something like that.
Roughnecks.
So he's a backup NFL quarterback for a reason. He's $6,500 on FanDuel. He's $4,800 on DraftKings. And I would like there's a connection between him and Mike Davis, seeing how, Mike Davis was not supposed to be thrust into this role in the regular season here. I mean, we're going back, 10 weeks,
Right.
4 months
Sure.
when they practice together. But I think it doesn't. Mike Davis's value stays right the same. Doesn't get any higher. But the most important thing, it's not dipping anywhere below the Mendoza line, as people say.
Yeah, sure, exactly.
And as far as bottom of the barrel, who's some of the bottom of the barrel guys you have in the article this week? And make sure you plug the article and tell us where we can find it.
Absolutely. You can find it at DFS Cheat Sheet, or you can find me on Twitter below there at Detroit Beastie. It's pinned to my profile. I'd like to think if you're I'm going to try out a new line, see if you guys like it. I've been saying it often because it just hits me. I'd like to think if you're looking for me, you don't have to look far.
Not at all.
No, I'm in.
It works.
I'm in.
That's a good line.
It works.
Okay. Good. So find me at Detroit Beastie. It's pinned up there somewhere, and we'll go from there. One guy I want to mention, one more quarterback, and then we can get to some running backs real quick. It's Alex Smith. Alex Smith has thrown almost 600 passing yards in 2 weeks combined. I mean, I'll ask you, there's nobody is going to touch him when it comes to comeback player of the year. I mean,
absolutely not.
I mean, it was sewed up weeks ago, just stepping on the field in a backup role, throwing one pass in a live game, and he's sewn it up. But Washington takes on Cincinnati, $6,600 on FanDuel, $5,300 on DraftKings. He's only played Cincinnati twice in his life. He has no touchdown passes and no interceptions thrown against Cincinnati. Cincinnati sacked him 10 times in those 2 games there.
Wow.
But I have Alex Smith, again, personal projections, around 290 yards in passing and 2 touchdowns, 2 or 3 carries, 10 or 15 carries. So at the price, you can't beat it. And while I'm at it, for some reason, maybe I'm a sicko, that Cincinnati-Washington game is high on my to-do list this week. I think it's going to be a very competitive game. I want to see how Washington's young defensive line gets to Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow's been running for his life so far all season. And
Bobby Hart is the worst starting tackle in the NFL. He shouldn't even be in the league, and they continue to put that guy out there and put Joe Burrow's life at risk. And yes, more Bobby Hart hate on the show.
I thought you said Bobby Fart, and I wasn't going to say that.
You might as well call him that. The dude stinks.
Let's go to running backs real quick, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
I love the kid in New England, Damian Harris, excuse me. New England goes to Houston. Houston is 31st against opposing running backs. I've been picking on Houston all season, and it's paid off. He's $5,800 on FanDuel, $5,700 on DraftKings. I have him for a healthy amount of carries, about 18 or 19 there, 90 yards, 5 a pop, and a touchdown. I also like Kellen Balazs, as we've seen. Anthony Lynn has come out, I believe it was yesterday or Tuesday, and said he's going to get a full workload here until Austin Eckler is there. So now is the time to use Kellen Balazs, both in seasonal formats and DFS formats. They're playing the Jets. Not much more needs to be said. He's $5,800 on FanDuel, $5,600 on DraftKings. I have him for about 15 carries, 75 yards, and he will score a touchdown, but it'll be of the receiving nature. I want to go back to the well with J.D. McKissick here. 15 targets last week, and in Detroit, they're playing. Cincinnati is kind of middle of the pack, 14th overall against opposing running backs. $5,600 on FanDuel, $5,200 on DraftKings. And if you'll notice, he's only gone up $300 on both sites. So a 15 target game, scores a touchdown, and they only bump up his price $300. What I like about him in this game, it's no surprise, I have him for about 6 or 7 receptions, 60 yards. We'll find the end zone, a receiving touchdown in that one. Some other guys, just some quick hits. Rex Burkhead, you might ask yourself, well, Chris, you mentioned Damian Harris. Why Rex Burkhead? 2 guys from the same team. Well, it worked out well last weekend with both Washington running backs. So if you're onto something, you're onto something here. So Rex Burkhead, Jonathan Taylor, the rookie, playing Green Bay. Green Bay is 30th overall against opposing running backs. $5,700 on FanDuel, $5,800 on DraftKings. So it's kind of like with Jonathan Taylor, if not now, then when? Let's get him in your lineups, because I know of a lot of seasonal teams that are going to have him on their bench. And when he goes off on their bench after you've started him for 8 weeks, people are going to freak out. So
all the time.
So plug Jonathan Taylor into your lineup. LaMichael Perrine, rookie for the Jets, looks to be getting a lot of action. Garbage time begin in the first quarter for them. Jamal Williams, Green Bay's running back, Jordan Wilkins. And if you want the full list of guys, go check out Bottom of the Barrel. And then if you want to hit on some receivers real quick, I've noticed that with my receivers, and it's a glorious thing, a lot of rookie wide receivers in this week's Bottom of the Barrel. And that's nice. There's a handful, a half dozen or so rookie wide receivers that are doing well. And, guys like, what's his name? Justin Jefferson, T. Higgins, their prices are, we know what we're getting out of them, but they don't fit the mold for Bottom of the Barrel here. Well, CD Lamb price is now back in Bottom of the Barrel territory. And we rode him pretty hard in the beginning of the season on B&B. They're at Minnesota. Minnesota is 31st overall against opposing wide receivers, $5,800 on FanDuel, $5,000 on DraftKings. He averages about 13.5 yards per reception here. So we've had good luck with CD Lamb anytime he's mentioned in Bottom of the Barrel. So expect a touchdown out of that kid this week. Jerry Jeudy, another guy I want to mention. Denver goes to Miami. Miami is 20th overall against opposing wide receivers, and I find that sneaky. I've watched the tape back from the last few games of the Dolphins, and the Dolphins, they look absolutely phenomenal right now. So I don't know is it the GM? Is it the head coach? All the draft picks, these kids are coming together. And if you look at this coming draft, they're loaded with first and second round draft picks again. So Miami is only going to get better, but let's take advantage, week to week here. Jeudy is $5,700 on FanDuel, $5,200 on DraftKings. And this kid averages 16.2 yards every time he catches the ball. So I have him for about 5 receptions, 60, 70 yards. Jerry Jeudy will find the end zone again, and I firmly believe that Jerry Jeudy is now the unquestioned wide receiver 1 in Denver. Who's
should be?
Yeah. One more guy I want to mention, the gadget guy, Curtis Samuel.
Buckeye.
And that's only because he's doing a lot of gadget, a lot of trickery, things of that nature, and it's been paying off. It wasn't just a 1 week thing that we saw, I believe, on Thursday night a few weeks ago. Again, they're playing Detroit. That's fantastic. $5,600 on FanDuel, $4,700 on DraftKings. So get Curtis Samuel in your lineups. I mean, honestly, this guy could find the end zone 2 or 3 times again. 1 on the ground, 1 in the air. Who knows?
You stop that.
He's going to absolutely go nuts against this odd Lions defense. Who, what are you going to do? Couple other, wide receivers. I'll name off. Again, check the whole list at the article. Pittman Jr. In Indianapolis. He's got to be without doubt the wide receiver 1 in Indianapolis now. Marvin Hall again. Let's go back to that one. Devin Duvernay, the rookie in Baltimore. I think he's going to get more involved here. And Tennessee is 28th overall against opposing wide receivers. An odd one that I didn't put in the article, but it's in my notes, kind of cut him out at the last second, is Isaiah Ford. Went from Miami to New England, and he didn't play last week. Maybe they want him to grasp the whole playbook here. So maybe think about Isaiah Ford here. Again, picking on Houston. He's $4,700 on FanDuel. He's $3,400 on DraftKings. I think Isaiah Ford makes for a nice play. Let's say, let me look up his projections real quick. Let's say if the guy catches 3 passes for 20 yards and one of them happens to be a touchdown, and you're in one of those big, 20,000 man tournaments here, that kind of value will pay off. Because again, the whole point of Bottom of the Barrel was we know the studs. We got to know how to navigate these cheaply owned guys. 2 more guys I like really well this weekend. Steven Sims Jr., Washington football teams guy, $4,600 on FanDuel, $3,000 on DraftKings. For some odd reason, he had, I believe, 6 targets on Sunday. He caught 4 of those for like 50 or 60 yards. I firmly believe that if you can stack Alex Smith with Steven Sims Jr., and Steven Sims will catch a touchdown this weekend. And at his prices, again, the value is off the charts. And then one tight end I want to mention, Dallas's tight end, Dalton Schultz. They're playing Minnesota, as I've said 15 times. He's $5,000 on DraftKings, $3,600 on DraftKings. Cameron Braid, another guy, Drew Sample, and then one more guy. Taysom Hill. What do we do with this guy? Depending on the format where you play seasonal, seasonal. He's a tight end. He's a quarterback. Last time I checked, he was not available. He's not tight end available on DFS, which hurts his value. But that's odd because when I checked on Sunday, he was a tight end. Yeah. Unless I'm going crazy. So Taysom Hill is $4,500 and he's $4,800 on DraftKings. And can you imagine the combo of getting Jameis Winston in your lineup at quarterback and then Taysom Hill at tight end against a lowly Falcons team, and you're getting quarterback reps from two separate positions, one of them being a tight end. So if we can find a way to squeeze Taysom Hill in, if he's tight end eligible, then I'm all for that. And again, that's all I got. If you want to check the whole list, go to my Twitter at Detroit Beastie and find bottom of the barrel there, boys.
Perfect. Thank you as always for that. And yeah, Taysom Hill is the absolute stud. If you can get other points.
He's going to touch the ball. He's going to touch
the ball. Drew, what other questions you got tonight?
No doubt.
Just a couple for you. Just standard. You going Sammy Watkins or Henry Ruggs?
Well, right off the bat, I want to say Ruggs, but let's compare what I have here. I have Ruggs for about 5 targets, 3 receptions, about 45 yards. So you're looking at upwards of 9. You said standard scoring here.
Yep.
So you're looking at like 8 or 9 points. And then Sammy Watkins, I have him for about 11 points here. So about 4 receptions, about 10 more yards than Ruggs the third here. So the stats are telling me Watkins, but my gut is telling me Henry Ruggs.
Gotcha. All right. So pick one out of these 3, Jakeem Grant, Josh Reynolds, or who somebody needs to send out a party for, AJ Green. Is he alive? Is he still in Cincinnati? Can we check on that guy?
Well, I've always said when you're taking a multiple choice test, you can throw one answer right out the window. I'm throwing AJ Green right out the window.
I think that's what the Bengals did with him too. That's why we haven't seen him.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's between Jakeem Grant and as it stands now, I have Grant for about 4 or 5 receptions, 50 yards. So you're looking at, let's round up to 10 fantasy points. And then I have Reynolds for about the same amount of catches, but about 10 more yards here. So to me, I would go Josh Reynolds, about 12 or 13 fantasy points for Reynolds. And I for the time being, I have a little soft spot for Reynolds. I was able to grab him off waivers yesterday.
I love it. Last one that I have is Devontae Booker or Malcolm Brown. Malcolm Brown had a big week last week.
He did.
This team has desperate times, whereas this is my team. This is my team.
And when we're done, I have a question for you, hot off the presses. Just came in on my computer here. So Devontae Booker, I don't think he's going to do much. Josh Jacobs is obviously the unquestioned RB1 there. Yep. I have Booker for about 40 total yards, 30 or so rushing the ball, and like 8 or 10 receiving. So you're looking at like 6 or 7 points. And then Malcolm Brown, I see a case where, he had a good week, right? So the coaches are like, well, one good turn deserves another here. So let me find his projections. So I have Malcolm Brown at actually less yardage than Devontae Booker here. So that Rams backfield is such a headache that, you know what, it might just be safer starting Booker because you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Unless you're looking for like a home run, like I need some major upside here in my lineup, play Brown. Is he going to score 2 touchdowns again? I highly doubt it, but the chance is always there. Booker hasn't had a game like that yet this season or his entire career yet. So my gut is telling me Brown. The numbers are saying Booker there, Drew.
Perfect.
Now, I have a quick question for you, if I may. So in my 14-team PPR IDP dynasty, I have T. Higgins and Justin Jefferson, right? I'm 9-1, firmly headed into the playoffs with the number 1 seed on the strength of my IDP. my IDP, excuse me. So my defense carries me, but I'd like to put together, a nice offense for a deep playoff run. A guy just said he'll give me Chris Carson for one or the other, T. Higgins or Justin Jefferson. Would you make that trade, and which rookie wide receiver would you choose? Because the only reason I'm telling you now that I believe that Seattle plays tonight, Chris Carson will be a go, week 12.
Right.
Right when we need him for a big playoff run here.
Yep. There's no way I'm trading Justin Jefferson. I would trade him for T. Higgins. I think Justin Jefferson's good.
Yeah,
I do. I think Justin Jefferson, I mean, although Joe Burrow, I believe, is going to be the better quarterback, I think Justin Jefferson is going to continue to get targets. That's what I would do. But if you can, again, as we always talk, if you can add a running back that is consistently getting 15 to 18 carries, you have to do it.
Yeah, it's really hard to say. We might have lost Chris for a second here. I'm sure he'll be back in just a moment. But adding the running back, like you said, that's a key thing. You got to add running back. Running back is where you can win. But that's a really tough question looking forward, because maybe this year losing Justin Jefferson's a bigger loss, even though T. Higgins has played well. But going forward, if you get Kirk Cousins throwing constantly to Justin Jefferson, and you have Joe Burrow throwing to T. Higgins, and they have a development together, that's a tough one. But at this point, I would trade T. Higgins, and I would make the move. And I'm a big T. Higgins fan. I've got him on a couple teams now.
Yeah, I grabbed both of them in a trade earlier on in the season, and I've kept T. Higgins throughout. I traded away Justin Jefferson for about 5 weeks, and I just got him back yesterday. So there's kind of no emotional connection there. Where if you're like me, T. Higgins has been with me the last 8 or 9 weeks here.
That's your guy. That's your guy.
And that's funny because I traded Justin Jefferson first week of the season, and then I just got him back 2 weeks ago.
That's it.
I'm on the same page with you there, getting Justin Jefferson. But that is an excellent question. What's your gut telling you to do?
My gut was saying to trade away Justin Jefferson because there's no real emotional connection there, and I find it hard to root for a Viking. But I'm here to play fantasy football and win some money and some bragging rights here. So I will take your advice, and I'll tell him that he can have T. Higgins.
But hey, it's just like you told us last week when we asked you how to build a fantasy team. You got to follow your gut, do it for fun, and make sure you're enjoying the guys on your team. Get the guys you like. So if you got the emotional connection with T. Higgins,
roll with it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So finally grabbing Carson. Now I dodged not to bog down the broadcast with
I love it.
My bullshit stuff. And I was going hard after Carson about 4 weeks ago, right before he injured himself. And I went in the opposite direction, and I was able to land James Robinson and Jonathan Taylor in the same deal. And the guy came back and goes, "Oh, that's a bummer. I thought we had something worked out." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry." So to be able to, do nothing but win since then and miss Carson's foot injury and get him back for week 12, I think that's a nice nice move.
I completely agree.
An absolutely nice move. And Chris is kind enough. He's going to stay on for just another segment here. Yes. We'll get right to that segment in just a second. But before we do, a little shout out, little plug. Check out our new merchandise at bonfire.com/store/FCFS tees. Remember, when you're watching the show, also check out our sponsors, Manhattan Deli Menor, 440-974-0055 in Menor, Concealed Carry Firearms Training, 440-391-4118, and Kitty Cove Daycare. You can find them on Facebook at Kitty Cove OH. That's right, guns, food, and babysitting. That's who sponsors the show. And now we're going to switch gears here. Chris is kind enough to stay on, and this segment is going to teach us a little bit that no matter who you are, everyone can get along. Because right now, we're going to bring a U of M fan on to talk to an Ohio State fan about Jim Harbaugh. So, without further ado, let's get into it, boys. Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. Let me bring up my stats here, my numbers. Awesome. Let me see if I can find them. Hired in December of 2014. He's had the 4th-ranked recruiting class in 2016 and 17. He had the Big Ten's top class in 2019. These are the good things. 3 10-win seasons. He had 11 players drafted. 3 different OCs, though. Had issues with that. His defense, his average rank of finish was 4.2. He's 48-21 overall. I mean, he's won there. He's won some games. But when you really break it down, he's 1-3 this season. He's 10-16 against top 25, 2-12 versus the top 10, and most importantly, he is 0-5 against the Ohio State University. So, Chris, as someone close to this team who roots for the team, what are your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh as a head coach so far at the University of Michigan?
He's not working out. It's plain and simple. He's coming in with the hire, what everybody freaked out. They're like, finally, Michigan will get a good coach again, and he hasn't done anything. I mean, realistically, he beats Rutgers. He used to beat Indiana, right?
Sure.
the bottom of the Big Ten, he can beat with his eyes closed. But when it counts against Ohio State, Wisconsin, and Penn States, the ones that are good, like Michigan, it's just not happening. And it's shocking that he's 0-5 against Ohio State, and people aren't calling for his head. And I don't know what it's going to take, right? I've kind of I didn't watch the game last week because it irritates me so much. I'd rather put my efforts elsewhere, but it's just not working out. And where do we go from here? Again, the guy does a lot of things good, but he doesn't do everything great. He recruits pretty good. He's getting these 4-star, 5-star guys. Milton looks absolutely awful. He's supposed to be a quarterback guru, Andrew Luck this at Stanford and that, but we're just not seeing results. And at this point in his head coaching tenure is the point where you're looking at how many Big Ten championships have you won in 5 years? How many national championship games have you made? And he's done 0 of those. I mean, the University of Michigan they kind of have unrealistic expectations for the team and their coaches, so they expected a Big Ten and national championship in year 1 with him. Obviously not realistic. And people were, we're just kidding. But 5 years in, that's when these things start to come out. What have you done? And he's done little to nothing.
Now, we both brought up the recruiting classes. He's done a good job recruiting. Is that Harbaugh's recruiting, or is that the school name itself doing most of that recruiting for him?
Well, I would, to be honest with you, it's without a doubt the school name, the broadcasting. Ann Arbor, the big house, playing in front of 110,000 fans, right, is the allure for a high school kid, looking to play college ball. And to be fair, I'm not saying anything out of school here. When these kids are even as young as 15 or 16, their goals and their ambition is to make millions of dollars. That's really, all they care about, helping their family, being a pillar in the community, things of that nature. But the end game is making money playing professional football. And what school can I go to is going to put me on the fastest track there. In Michigan, win or loss, they will still and they will remain a top 10 school in terms of drafting pedigree here.
And if he beats Ohio State this year but finishes with a sub 500 record, does he deserve to come back next year?
No, the damage is done. Personally, I don't think he deserves to come back. It's time to start looking elsewhere. They've wasted all this time. How much money? Hundreds of millions of dollars probably they've wasted. And I know I am a Michigan fan, but I'm not like, a typical Michigan fan where, no matter what the argument is, you like Ohio State? Well, guess who still has the highest win? All that bullshit nonsense. So if Harbaugh beats Ohio State this season, it's just going to be a bigger headache because people are going to hang on to that one win out of 6 games, until the day they die. Well, at least we beat you once, or Michigan State and Michigan isn't really a rivalry game because it's been so lopsided here. So realistically, he does not deserve to be back.
Drew, what are your thoughts on Harbaugh's tenure so far at Michigan?
Well, one, I appreciate somebody that can be a fan of a different team and not be just a complete dick, because
that's why we all blend so well on this show.
It's like, it's sports. It's fine. Okay. Yeah. Listen, I agree with some things he said. I disagree with some things he said. When we talk about recruiting, they've recruited very, very well. And while I do believe that Michigan has proud tradition, it's one of the best schools in the nation, I personally believe Jim Harbaugh is a good recruiter because Jim Harbaugh is a personable guy and he gets in living rooms. He'll sleep over your goddamn house if he has to, which he's done. But you know, so I think Harbaugh is really recruited well. Where I think Harbaugh has gone wrong is we kind of saw this, and I thought Harbaugh would succeed at the college level because when he was in San Francisco, he wore people out. Right. He was on their ass. And I thought, you know, by the time he wore these kids out, it would be a new recruiting class. I honestly thought he would do well there. Recruiting wise, and certainly it's a lot to do with just being the University of Michigan and being one of the most prestigious, you know, schools in the country. But for me, he's got the kids, he's got the talent. It's just tough to watch. I mean, looking back at their last 3 games, they've been outscored 87-32. And Don Brown is been the guy that Jim Harbaugh continues to go to bat for while his team gives up 49 to Wisconsin at the Big House. It's tough. The problem is like in you said it so finely is he can win the games he's supposed to win. I mean, he can beat up on the teams he's supposed to beat up on. But when it comes to Penn State, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Ohio, I mean, he's 1-6 at home against Ohio State and Michigan State. He lost to Michigan State this year. They're terrible.
It's awful.
So to me, and I'll ask you this, Chris, and I don't know, has he lost the kids in general? I mean, is the team – Is this a coaching problem, or is this just where kind of everybody's just he's kind of lost the kids? They're tired of it. Milton after week 1 was the next Peyton Manning, and now he's awful. The next grocery bagger at Walmart. Like, so here we are.
Mm-hmm. Well, to answer your question, I think at the college level, it's a lot less likely to lose the kids because that's it. They're kids, you know, they're still, you know, excited and happy to play. And there's the fire is burning at a super intense level as compared to the pros where it's a business. In the professional ranks, it's a business. They'll lose and they'll turn on a coach quick because they only care about one thing, money and winning championships for the most part. But in terms of college, the kids are easily swayed one way or another. You can lose a locker room, right? But then you can get it back quick with with a good week of practice, a couple pep talks, a day off or two, back-to-back days off. Let the kids play video games or lift weights and go out on the town, grab a beer, something like that. So with the kids, I find it a little bit different than the professional level because in college, it's kind of, I get that that summer camp vibe, right? We're all going to get together in the summer. We're going to work out all spring and summer, and then we're going to hit the pads hard in the fall and the winter here. And they're all in it together for one reason, for the camaraderie, for the memories. We're in college playing,
which is the beauty of college football.
Exactly, because as you know, when you play college football, not everybody goes on to play in the pros. So you're playing college football. A lot of these kids know it's their last stop. So to say that they lose a locker room, yes and no, but they're easily brought back if they are lost, let's say.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what you both said. And for me, when you look at this team, you have to 100% blame the coaching because we're saying you're getting great players in there. So the talent is there, getting the 4th ranked recruiting class 2 years in a row, getting the best ranked
top 10
class
every
in the
year.
Big Ten. You're doing an excellent job of bringing players in. And yes, it's probably mostly the school at this point. Yeah. But for these guys not to look like they fit together, for the team to get dominated by Michigan State, who's been awful. They've got a new head coach who just came in there and they're dealing with COVID issues.
Michigan State is a terrible team.
They are. I mean, this is all the coaching. And you look at a lot of these Michigan message boards, and everybody wants to blame Don Brown. And yes, Don Brown's defense hasn't been very good, but we've stated where they finish average ranked in the Harbaugh term here at 4.2. So he's done a fairly good job of keeping the talent up to par. But it all has to land on the head coach. It all has to land on his shoulders. All Harbaugh. And I believe I'm with you guys. Harbaugh needs to be out after this season. With that being said, who are some guys, Chris, that you would like to see possibly come to Ann Arbor and take over that term or that team?
I haven't looked at a thing, so I couldn't tell you at all. I feel unprepared. I know you know you.
No, you're good.
Told me in advance of the show that Ducks, but I really don't know. Where do they turn? I just read an article about Rich Rodriguez, and it was from yesterday, praising Jim Harbaugh. So it's one loser talking about another loser, and it's all bad.
Well said.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I didn't know if you had anybody that you had heard of or maybe thought of that you would like to see there. How about you, Drew? Who are some guys you could see headed to Ann Arbor next year?
He makes a good point. It's really tough because I think, again, Michigan fans, and I'm not saying Chris, but Michigan fans put this program on a pedestal that maybe like so let's talk about Texas, right? Look at what Texas has been the last 6 years and what Texas was before. Now, Texas has the flashy name Texas, but are you going to be able to go in and know that you're going to be able to out-recruit Oklahoma? Anybody that takes the Michigan job has to out-recruit Ohio State. They have to out-recruit Wisconsin. They have to out-recruit Michigan State, which out-recruiting Michigan State and Wisconsin is not a big deal. But Ohio State's going to be kind of picking from the same litter. So as Michigan fans would say, I want a Michigan man. Well, I think you do not want a Michigan man because that shit hasn't worked. So let's reverse course and see what happens. But it's really hard to say. The one thing I will tell you is I think Jim Harbaugh goes back to the NFL sooner rather than later. I think he sees things kind of crumbling at this level. I don't see any way with a 500 record in the Big Ten that you come back. I just don't. I just don't see it. Personally, I have no idea who would consider this job. Of course, you can talk your Matt Campbells. You can talk guys like Matt. I mean, Matt Campbell would be one priority, but they're not getting much anybody.
PJ Fleck in Minnesota, maybe, and with Matt Campbell. Obviously, I'm looking this up on the computer. It just didn't come to me. I don't want to, mislead anybody. But Matt Campbell is tops on people they're already talking. Obviously, they were talking after the loss to Michigan State. And Matt Campbell, he coaches at Iowa State. So there's those Midwest ties there, right? So, and it looks like he's been an innovator with hard-nosed football again, tireless recruiter, things that are going on like that. And personally, the second guy, PJ Fleck in Minnesota, some of those alarm bells go off because I love what he's done for Minnesota there and the talent that he's brought in. And Minnesota has never been a powerhouse college, but they've always put kind of like a Northwestern. They'll play in a Big Ten championship game or a Rose Bowl game once every 5 or 6 years.
Yep.
And it makes the program, it makes them their life. A group of kids that played for Northwestern years ago in '98 or something when they played in the Rose Bowl and they won. I mean, people will remember that forever. And things of that nature do not go unnoticed in bigger programs here. So I like the idea of PJ Fleck here.
Yeah, and Matt Campbell was even considered for head coaching jobs in the NFL. If you remember, I mean, Cleveland would have been the only dumbass team enough to actually make that move.
Hey, we got Hugh Jackson instead, baby.
Yeah,
Hugh Jackson's here.
You're right. Maybe that was actually would have been a better move. But no, it's interesting because the cupboard's not bare, right? We know there's kids there that can play. It's just I think for Michigan fans, and I don't want to speak for Michigan fans, I think that the kind of their patience is run out. They're sick of being embarrassed in moments where they have the opportunity to say, hey, we're a legit team, and they just can't get it done. And sometimes, man, just rock the boat, as PJ Fleck would say.
That's it.
Matt Campbell's an excellent name, and I think that would be an absolute home run hire. Matt Campbell, not only does he have the Midwest ties from coaching Iowa State, who's a head coach at Toledo. He's from Ohio. He was an assistant at Pitt. I mean, he's got all the Midwest ties you want. He's got Ohio ties, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, into Michigan. Matt Campbell would be an absolutely home run hit for them. But the guy I think you need to keep the eye on is a guy who has his team, a team you don't usually hear a lot about as a top 10 team. They're 7th ranked in the country right now. And that is former Ohio State head coach Luke Fickell, who at Cincinnati has done an amazing job with the 3 and 4 star ranked talent.
Wait a
Fickell is the guy.
second. Wait a damn second. You're saying Luke Fickell, who was the interim coach at Ohio State, is going to go to those trash bags up north? So that's what you're going to tell me.
I think if I was running Michigan, that's the guy I would look at. Will he go there? I didn't mean to derogatory. No, I get it.
I know. I just
you dropped it.
There's a daycare that sponsors your show, and you're gonna put out filth like that, Drew.
You're right. You're right. I apologize.
We put out filth every week. That's what we do here. Football and filth. That's what we do here. But Luke Fickell, I think, would be a great fit there for what they want to do. He went into Cincinnati, rebuilt that program, got him to be a 7th ranked team in the country right now. Will he take the job? I don't know. But if I'm running Michigan and I have a choice of head coaches,
Cincinnati, dude. I am big. Cincinnati.
I don't love Cincinnati. I like what Luke Fickell's done there. Luke Fickell reminds me a lot of what Mike Vrabel's done. You look at what Mike Vrabel did in Tennessee. He doesn't overcoach the defense. He doesn't now this year. I think he doesn't overcoach on offense. I think him and Vrabel are very similar. They know how to run programs.
What?
Yes.
I love you, brother, but that's ridiculous, dude. I mean,
Luke Fickell.
Yeah, all right.
Just like Mike Vrabel, in my opinion.
All right, fair enough.
And that is our Jim Harbaugh argument for the night. Chris, thank you very much for joining the show, as always.
Appreciate you, brother.
And we got my dad ringing in with Les Miles going to that school up north. I mean, is Les Miles – I mean, you're talking Michigan, man. He's a Michigan man.
How does the grass taste up there in Ann Arbor? Oh man, that's too funny, Chris, brother. I always appreciate you, man. A lot of fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I will. I'll be in touch.
All right,
appreciate you, bro. Have a good weekend. What a ridiculous argument. Yeah, I'm holding on to Luke Fickell being like Mike Vrabel. We can argue that another day.
Yeah, it's terrible. You gotta. Yeah, all right. Yeah, I agree with you. We'll argue another day.
That will come back to us, I'm sure. But I think, Matt Campbell, excellent. He could be a home run hire. Either way, I think
it's so hard to predict in the college level. It's, guys it's just Michigan is certainly going to garner a fantastic coach. Mm-hmm. It's just who is it going to be? And again, they have the players there. So
they do.
Like Chris said, I mean, it's got to be frustrating as a fan. All you're asking for is really one win a year against Ohio State. That's all they've been asking for, or a win against a big-time school. And they just, they haven't been able to do it. And listen, Michigan's going to beat Ohio State at some point coming up. Ohio State's not going to beat them forever. And it's just tough because Michigan fans is as much as, Michigan's the Ohio State rivalry, again, people are normal people here. It's been a drubbing, and they can't feel great about it.
And that's a great thing about our show right now. I mean, we're on the show. We're being fair about everything. Obviously, you're an Ohio State fan. You can see behind your head, you got an Ohio State thing on your wall there. I mean, I named my kids Scarlet Gray. I have an Ohio State tattoo. We're both Ohio State fans, but we can honestly be open and talk about Michigan and what that school's dealing with. I almost feel bad for the fans with how bad they've been against big schools, because when Michigan's good and Ohio State's good, it makes the rivalry fun. It's more fun for us. I don't want to go in. I mean, the only thing I'm thinking,
State loss, dude, was just
brutal.
That was kind of just especially because Michigan State turned it over 9 times week 1, and then I get it, man. It sucks. Listen. I'm a Lions fan. The put it in this perspective, right? They are what Ohio State is their Green Bay in the North, and their Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North, right? And we're the Browns, and we're the Lions. Yeah, or the Michigan's the Browns and the Lions. Yeah, it sucks to just continue to get beat up on.
Yeah, here's a Michigan fan chiming in right now. Yeah, unfortunately, and that's sad. You should be in the same class as Ohio State right now, and it makes the rivalry fun. And the Boys 22, thank you for chiming in. I want your team to be good, because I don't want to think – and, I mean, we've talked this year about how Ohio State wants to put 100 points up. And that makes it fun for us. But how much more fun is it when you have a game where it's 1 versus 2, like it was in 2007, when it was Troy Smith's Heisman year? And that game was one of the most fun games ever. When both teams are good, this rivalry is good. It's good for the Big Ten. And it shows us how
nobody's putting up 100 points.
No, they're not. But that's what we're looking forward to right now. We're not even we're looking past Michigan, and that sucks because this is supposed to be the game. When it comes back, it'll be great. And as we're talking about fraud head coaches, I want to talk about the biggest fraud head coach.
Matt Patricia.
Matt
Patricia segment.
Matt Patricia might not even be the biggest fraud head coach in the NFL. Adam Gase might have that role, but it's close. We put out that terrible poll where everyone's like, really, why are you doing this to us?
Never voted.
We had a shit ton of votes.
But
for me, the biggest fraud head coach in football, college, pros, high school, down to Pee Wee, Pop Warner, whatever, he got fired this week. No, Will friggin' Muschamp. This guy coached under Mac Brown at Texas. Took Mac Brown's players. He looked really good. Everyone's talking about this guy's a defensive guru. He went to Florida as a head coach. His defenses sucked. He sucked everywhere on the field.
Will Muschamp,
Will Muschamp is the Bobby Hart of head coaches. Will Muschamp, 28-28 as a head coach. He got fired from Florida, got a $6 million buyout. He goes to South Carolina. South Carolina's like, oh, we got ourselves a hell of a football coach here, and Will Muschamp. Let's roll, baby. They want go Cox, baby. Go Cox. Let's roll. They get this boy in South Carolina thinking they're going to have these defenses that can stack up against anyone. And they've been trash. He is a trash football coach. Maybe a decent human being, but I highly doubt that at this point. 28-28 as a head football coach. He has earned himself $21 million in buyouts from colleges. There's no reason this man should ever get another head coaching job in football, period. And I don't want him to coach flag football. He's a fraud as a head coach who basically earned everything from being good with Mac Brown's players and Texas.
I was unaware you felt this way about Will Muschamp.
Listen, the guy's been terrible everywhere he goes. He keeps getting chances.
I mean, Jesus, though, dude. You just attacked it. He's got a family, I'm sure.
He does. And if you're on his family, you can find me on Twitter at Somerville CLE.
Oh, now he's calling his family to talk shit to him on Twitter. Oh, man. All right.
This guy, yeah, he's probably got a family. Like I said, he might be a good guy. Who knows at this point? Don't give him any more head coaching jobs, okay? That's it. That's all I'm asking. And let's get on to picking some games. Yes.
All right.
If anyone doesn't agree, find me on Twitter at Somerville CLE. It's also my Instagram, Facebook, anything. You know where to find me. Anyway. Moving on, let's talk some games this weekend. Let's talk about a team that just got a 5-star quarterback recruit, and that's some breaking news here. 5-star quarterback recruit who decommitted. Let's see, I have the information written down here. Decommitted from Texas. So Tom Herman lost a 5-star recruit. Quinn Ewers, number 1 ranked player for the 2022 Class A quarterback. He is headed to The Ohio State University, and The Ohio State University welcomes in Indiana, the 9th ranked team in the country, the Indiana Hoosiers. Mm-hmm. They welcome into the shoe. They're 20.5-point favorites. But this is probably the toughest matchup the Buckeyes have faced so far this year. And I think if they would have faced Maryland last week, it would have helped them going into this game, but they did not. So, Ohio State, Indiana. Let's face it, Ohio State hasn't played that well. Yeah, we've had 3 double-digit wins, but they have not played well. They have great players. They have not played well so far. What do you see happening in this game?
Ohio State winning. I don't think by 20.5. Okay. 17, 14, 17 points. Indiana's not a bad football team. And Ohio State really hasn't. I mean, again, you hate having the game canceled last week. The Big Ten's an absolute shit show, an embarrassing conference for what they're putting out as far as the schedule is concerned. We're canceling games left and right. Your game's canceled. Your game's canceled.
The Oprah of canceling games, COVID,
it's
baby.
Terrible. Listen. Ohio State's a better team. Indiana's showing nice things, but again, Ohio State's the cream of the crop. I do expect them to win by 7. I wouldn't be surprised they won by 30. I just haven't seen enough Ohio State good play to say anything different.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that. When you look at what Tom Allen's done there in Indiana, this is exactly where it comes down to coaching in the Big Ten. He's got 3-star recruits, 4-star recruits. Michael Penix Jr., excellent quarterback. He might not be as high a recruit as what you've seen at Michigan and Milton, but he's been coached up well. They do what's best for him. That is the difference.
Why are you going to throw pot shots at Michigan still, dude? We were exactly that segment.
We are. But you look at Wisconsin. Wisconsin the same way. It's 4-star recruits that go in there, and they're coached up. So that's where coaching comes in. So Indiana can win this game if they get excellent play on both sides of their lines. You look at what the line has done against their defensive line against Michigan. Michigan State gave up 73 total rushing yards. And if that offensive line can protect Penix Jr. and allow him to be good at what he's good at and get him untouched basically for the entire game, they could possibly win it. Will they win that? Probably not. I mean, it's just Ohio State's so talented. And yeah, the boy, he just joined in. Exactly. It's too much talent for Indiana to overcome. And that's why they haven't played well, but they've still won by double digits. For OU, I mean, they've been great, but they just haven't played great yet. Or for OSU.
Offensively, when you're Ohio State, your only concern at all would be the running back position.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Master T's kind of the guy now, but you lost J.K. Dobbins. That's the only concern. Your receivers are elite. You're gonna move the ball. Offensively, I'm not worried at all. No. Exactly like he said, the talent-wise, it's just you're bigger, faster, stronger, and that's going to prevail at the end of the game. And listen, I love to see the Indiana playing the way they are, but again, they beat Michigan. Like it's not a team. So
I got the Buckeyes winning 42-20. I think it's going to be a lot like the Penn State game where I think it's going to be tight early and then the Buckeyes pull away later. And Justin Fields has just been incredible. More touchdowns than incompletions. Kid has been everything advertised, playing like a star, playing like a Heisman. Let's move on to our next game. We got Oklahoma
Bedlam
against Oklahoma State. It is Bedlam, baby. It is in Norman this year, so it's at Oklahoma. 7:30 game on ABC. This is going to be our night game. I mean, for Oklahoma State, the D needs to keep being great, and they've been great on third down and getting teams off the field, and they haven't given up a lot of passing yards. And we know Oklahoma likes to throw the football. Spencer Rattler's been really good at times, but he's also struggled a lot. He needs to really learn how to reel it in. What do you think happens in this game? Who you got?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State. What's your final score?
37-31.
I have 36-32.
So isn't that a total college football score? Like,
I don't know if you can see that. 36-32.
Here's the deal, man. Oklahoma State runs the ball really well.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a good game. Oklahoma's look sloppy. Rattler, however, wonderful name.
Spencer Rattler.
But yeah, I'm going to take Oklahoma State. Bedlam, always a good matchup. Gundy, my boy Mike Gundy. He is a man. That's right. I'm going with my guy Mike Gundy, man.
I too will take Oklahoma State.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be a fun game. I hope it's a tight game. I hope it is a close score like we have it.
Suck it, Lincoln Riley.
It is going to be fun to watch on Saturday night. And now we move on to the next game. That game, Cincy, number 7 in the country. My boys in Cincinnati. I can see you rolling the eyes already. Little Cincy takes his team into UCF. Team they have struggled against. But Cincy, with Desmond Ridder, who's had 2 3-touchdown games in a row, they've scored 40-plus points in their last 3 games, including 55 last week. They head into UCF. This is a tough game for them. Now, UCF offense, they're still growing. They're still building. But this is going to be the toughest matchup they face this year. I think this is how we're really going to see how good Luke Fickell is as a head coach and how good Cincinnati is. What do you see happening in this game?
Cincinnati wins 38-14.
38-14.
38-17.
Oh, I wish you wouldn't have changed that because I had 38-17. I, too, have them.
Dude, we know you love Cincinnati, bro. Just take them by 60. Like, just roll.
You know what? You're right. I will now take them 77-17. Cincinnati rolls. You heard it
reasonable.
Here. They're dropping 70. They're dropping 70. But yeah, it was nice to talk some college football. We will get into it, coming up here in December. We'll start talking our Heisman ranking.
Matters. And the Big Ten's got 3 games complete.
I mean, you've been hating on the Big Ten scheduling. I mean,
What do you mean? I've been
you don't like the fact you don't like the fact they scheduled 9 games in 9 weeks with COVID with nothing in between. Like, hey, we got to either get all these games in or we're absolutely screwed. You didn't think that was a good idea?
They're just canceling them. Like Michigan, Ohio State. The only way Michigan doesn't lose is if Ohio State game gets canceled.
Jim Harbaugh's taking this team. They're going to go shopping at Walmart the day before the game.
Yeah, maybe it's because
they not wear masks
here because of COVID. That they,
Yeah.
But I always get nervous about the Michigan game. I don't care what the 2 squads are because you don't want to lose to Michigan. So it doesn't matter. I'll still be nervous for that game.
We got how about the Pac-12? Pac-12, they're the Pac-12.
Listen. The problem is with the Pac-12. The Pac-12 is having the same issue that the Big Ten's having. It's the same thing. It's like
they just have it after night.
Last week they had 2 games that canceled, but like they were trying to get the other 2 teams to play each other. I can't think off the top of my head.
I think it was Cal played UCLA on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. That's what I think it was ended up being, if I remember correctly. I mean, the Pac-12, they're just like, hey, we really need to get some games together. If we get a team to go 2-0, we could sneak into the playoffs. Yeah, it's not going to work.
Well, Chris, to be honest with you, the Pac-12 is irrelevant. I mean, they're good for them. They're playing their football games and stuff, but I don't think they, as far as playoff implications, things like that, I don't think you see anything in the Pac-12.
No, and USC is still an overrated school right now, even though they're like 20th ranked in the country. But yeah, it was good to talk some college football. Let's get back to the NFL. Let's get into some.
You got the game on over there?
I do. I saw DK score earlier.
Watch this dime piece Kyler Murray throws here. I'm sorry. All right.
We are going to get into headlines, and that is an excellent segue because we're talking Kyler Murray against Russell Wilson. And I'm usually behind Drew. I don't even know how we could have the same TV on, and I'm going to be 5 seconds, 10 seconds behind him.
I pay extra, dude. I pay extra.
Yeah, that is an unbelievable dime. Is that Dan Arnold? No, that is
Tom Arnold.
Tom Arnold, Max Williams, former Ravens draft pick. Could you imagine Tom Arnold suiting up? We had nobody else. We needed to suit up Tom Arnold. Let's roll. Kyler Murray versus Russell Wilson tonight.
Yeah. Yep.
Russ seemed like he was running away with the MVP. And he's kind of come back to earth the last 2 weeks, had some bad games. And maybe it's because he's putting pressure on himself to cook too much because that defense has no groceries to it. They're terrible right now. Mm-hmm. But Kyler Murray, 17 touchdowns passing, 10 rushing. For Russ, it's 29 total touchdowns, 28 of them passing. Kyler Murray sneaking up as an MVP favorite, or is it still Russ at this point?
No, it's Russ at this point. So, listen, you actually nailed it on the head when you said that the problem is the defense is trash, and so they haven't had the ability to run the ball. Carson's been hurt. They haven't ran it like they have in previous years. You and I were talking about this pre-show. Mm-hmm. What's happened is they had the ability to run and pass Russ very little. I mean, if you want to look at attempts the last 2 years, Russ is almost throwing the ball 2 times as many balls a game. Oh my goodness, as he was last year. But it's still Russ to me for the simple fact I think he's been fantastic. Nothing against Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's coming. But for me, I'm still going with Russ, and that's just the way it's going to be. You can go with Kyler Murray, which I'm sure you will, and that's fine. But you know me, I'm going to roll with Russ all day.
Listen, I want to go with Kyler Murray, but it's still Russ at this point. And did the defense just get a turnover for Russ?
No.
But
I'm in the future. The future says that it was not.
It's nice to live in the future. One day I want to be there. I'm going to pay extra one day. I'm a cheap bastard. So, for me right now, it is still Russ's MVP. And I think it's because Russ has had to overcome more, where you have to look at not only the numbers he's had, but what his team has had to overcome. For Kyler, he's definitely on the cusp. He's number 2, and he's had better numbers this year at this point than Lamar did last year when Lamar was unanimous MVP. You know that running back in Baltimore that you love so much?
Oh, I didn't say that. However, he's been terrible. Yeah.
But as far as numbers, when you look at 2019 Lamar and 2020 Kyler Kyler's better than Lamar was at this point last year when he was unanimous MVP. It's crazy to think, but I still think Russ right now is the MVP of the league.
Yep.
And I still think Josh Allen is tailing on there. I think Josh Allen is definitely worth it. And I mean, there's other guys to look at. Dalvin Cook. I mean, if the Vikings continue to, Dalvin Cook could get some votes. Maybe Kamara gets some votes, but you're not going to probably get a running back as MVP. It's probably not going to happen again for a long time.
I agree with that.
Now, moving on, we're going to keep in the headlines. Look at what the rookie quarterbacks have done this year. 2-3-0 as a starter. Joe Burrow, unbelievable. Justin Herbert putting up incredible numbers. Now, it's been a while, I feel like, since we've had 3 really good starting quarterbacks in the first round. I'd like to say we go back as far as 2004, when you had Phillip Rivers, Eli Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger going the first 12 picks. So looking at those 3 guys and comparing the new 3 guys, who, in your opinion, is the Phillip of this draft, the Eli of this draft, and the Ben Roethlisberger of this current class?
All right. Well, my Phillip of the class, I'm going to go with Justin Herbert. My Big Ben, of the class is going to go to Joe Burrow, I guess, and then Tua Tagovailoa. It's very interesting. I think all 3 are going to be very good players.
Mm-hmm.
What Joe Burrow's been able to do with just getting his ass just beat on a weekly basis. We talk about all the time. You talk about guys just getting beat up to the way they lose their confidence. This does not seem to be the case. Yeah, it does not seem to be the case with Joe Burrow. Bobby Hart, he's got a family as well, I'm sure. But for me, I mean, it's tough. I don't know.
It is a really tough question, and I hate to say that I think Herbert is the Phillip because you look at what the Chargers organization has been through. But for me, I'm with you on that. I really think that Herbert's going to put up numbers. He's going to be a good, solid quarterback for a long time, but I don't see him winning the Super Bowl. And I hope I'm wrong. As far as the Eli, a guy who could possibly win multiple Super Bowls, and Ben, who won multiple Super Bowls, but Eli seems to be the kind of average guy out of the group as far as overall quarterback. You know what? I'm going to just go exactly with what you went because it fits, it makes sense, and I can't argue that. Perfect. Let's move on. Speaking of quarterbacks or lack thereof, the Chicago Bears. We watched that game Monday night.
Foles was picking dude. That defense had no answer for Foles and those weapons, dude.
Can we get you talk about feeling bad for people. Allen Robinson. This guy is a flat-out stud.
Come home, Allen.
He's
a Detroit guy. Bring him home.
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's terrible.
Quarterback.
Yeah.
And, not to put more hate on people this week, but Brian Greasy. Anthony Miller got the ball overthrown by like 3 yards. And Brian Greasy is blaming Anthony Miller for not catching the ball. Like, he's got to catch that football. What do you want him to do?
Go, goddamn gadget arms, dude. What do you mean what to do? For the team, you grow the go gadget arms. It's not even a question.
Yeah. Unless this dude is go gadget on us, he's not catching that football. But let's get to the Bears quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky, awesome. 3 starts, 3-0, 560 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 picks, 53.6 QBR. Nick Foles, 1,852 yards, 10 touchdowns, 8 picks, 44.4 QBR. Neither one is good. That defense is definitely damn good. We saw that. That is a defense that can win you a Super Bowl. Nick Foles, we saw him go down on the last play, get carted off. That injury doesn't seem to be as bad as it originally looked.
Paul Pierce.
Yeah. He basically pulled a Paul Pierce. He's like, dude, I look terrible. I need to get out of here and get some sympathy right away. I hope they don't announce what's actually wrong with me. I just have a bruise on my thigh or something.
You got me in a wheelchair.
For the Bears, I think it's obvious to say neither one of these guys are the answer. So you look at what can happen next year. They're going to have a top 15 pick. Do you take a Zach Wilson at 15? Do you trade up to maybe number 3 to Dallas, who might end up with like the 3rd pick and get a Justin Fields, but have to pay, the value to move up to number 3? Or do you say, hey, listen, Atlanta, you're looking to move on, you're looking to rebuild. Matt Ryan available? Do you bring in a Matt Ryan? What do you do with that situation to get better at quarterback?
Well, Matt Ryan's an interesting thing. I would, if they can bring in Matt Ryan, you bring in Matt Ryan. Because again, we go with the mystery box.
Mm-hmm.
You want this rookie quarterback to be Matt Ryan. So are you going to take the mystery box, or are you just going to take Matt Ryan, who you know is still really good? They do have. I mean, the problem is they need to fire their coach. It really, I mean, Matt Nagy, his offense has become just stale trash at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And you can certainly say that it's Nick Foles or it's, Mitchell Trubisky. And I moved away from Mentor now, so I got no problems talking shit about Mitchell Trubisky.
He's got a family. I know his family.
Yeah, hey, sorry. But I mean, what say you?
Listen, I think this defense is ready to win now.
It
needs if you can get a Matt Ryan, if you can get whatever feasible good quarterback that is a veteran, if you can get someone in there.
No, that's not what we're saying.
If you can get Matt Ryan,
you can get Matt Ryan, because you can give me other feasible quarterbacks. I'm not sure. Yeah. Matt Ryan is very very good.
I mean, if we look at it, who else could be available as a starter? I mean, that's a veteran or that's played a few years, that's actually put up decent numbers. I mean, you're going to end up with guys like Nick Foles and Mitch Trubisky, or, I mean, maybe you trade for Gardner Minshew, but Gardner Minshew might not. I mean, Gardner's Gardner. We like him. He's fun, but Gardner's not winning that team a Super Bowl.
Excuse me?
He's not winning a Super Bowl.
Some respect on Gardner's name, dude.
Listen, I love George as much as anybody.
I agree.
Listen, Matt Ryan's the guy you get if you can get him. And we talk about, you hit it, the mystery box. We always talk about it. You can wait at 15 or something, get Zach Wilson, but you don't know what he's going to be.
And your team, you see, like you said, the defense is ready to win now.
Exactly.
By the time that quarterback progresses into what you need, that defense may not be what it is right now, and more than likely, it's not going to be. You plug Matt Ryan in, and you just you don't skip a beat. I mean, he learns the offense, and I mean, come on, their offense is unwatchable. I hope the Bears extend Mitchell Trubisky for 13 years. But I mean, yeah, if we're talking Matt Ryan, if you can get Matt Ryan, then it's a different story. Because I think that team's ready to win way more than the Falcons. The Falcons they're a disaster at this point.
Exactly. They should rebuild. They should restart, move on, keep Calvin Ridley, move on to the young guys. But if you were the Bears right now, which guy do you think is actually better if you had to pick one of the guys they got? Is it Foles or is it Trubisky?
Foles.
I'm going to go Trubisky.
I know you are.
It's only because
his family and shit. You know his family and shit.
It's not just that. I've hated on Mitchie as much as anyone on the show. Well, I know not as much as anyone because
that's not true.
I can't go that way. Yeah. I mean, but I think his running ability added a different element to that offense that helped him out a little bit because Foles is basically a statue back there. But let's move on to another question I got, which we're going to drift into another part of this question. So we talked about how the Cowboys might have the third overall pick. So they're the Cowboys. They're stacked up against the cap. They got a ton of high-paid players on there. And you're looking at what they got, and they're going to have to pay Dak, who's coming off an injury. Do you pay Dak and move down in the draft and get better assets? Or do you take a Justin Fields at 3 and plug him into the team you got that can be built around him with less cap space where you save $30 million, maybe $35 million? What would you do?
That's a reasonable question.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with Dallas that we've seen, I mean, Dallas's roster for a time was ready to win. Here's the thing that's really my concern more than even Dak. That offensive line isn't the offensive line it was for the last 3 years. That was the best offensive line in football until you got guys retiring out of the goddamn blue.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a chance to take Justin Fields, I mean, as much as I think Dak Prescott's fantastic. Mm-hmm. Again, is it the mystery box? But is Dallas ready to win now?
No,
I'm not sure they are. With the offensive line they had and the ability to run the ball they had, then yes. But if you can give me 4 or 5 years with a rookie contract with Justin Fields, then that interests me.
Definitely does, especially since you have Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper, Zeke already signed. You build up that offensive line a little bit. You get some pieces that play on defense. That could be an interesting team.
The weapons are there.
What roster would you rather have right now, the Cowboys or the Bears?
The Bears.
I would as well because of that defense. And that's the only thing that separates it. I mean, it's great to have offensive weapons, but I'm high on Anthony Miller. I like him. I think David Montgomery can be a guy. And, of course, we talked about Allen Robinson.
Awesome, dude.
He is.
He's top 10 receiver
season
in the league.
With Foles, Trubisky, and Blake Bortles.
Top 10 quarterback in the league. Or top 10 quarterback. I don't know if he can throw it, but he's a top 10 receiver for the after.
He can put him in quarterback. Why not try it? Can't hurt. We've seen what they have. Now, that segment took us a little longer than I expected because I started adding other questions, but I really like where that segment went because you can see there's so many different options that NFL teams have to get good, and that's why it frustrates me when teams are like, no, it's going to be a 5-year plan. It's not that way anymore. You have so many options.
You're 100% right. It is. We're not in a 5. This isn't the NBA.
No.
Like, you don't tear it down, and like, you can be good in 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
If you do it properly and you have the financial structure where your salary cap's not a complete dumpster fire, which I think Dallas is kind of teetering on that point.
They are. They're absolutely headed that way. And for those of you watching the show, those of you listening, hey, let us know what you're drinking tonight. You can see us both drinking. I got a whiskey and Coke here.
Russ.
Drew getting some points from Russ.
Dances.
Russ is cooking. Now let's move on to our Week 11 preview. Let's start with our game of the week. Let me see if I put the correct banner up here. And we got a Go Blue. Yeah, Go Blue. Maybe if you get good one year, we'll be all right.
Hey, listen, we're not here. I'm not here to disrespect any team.
No.
It's just the fact that you can put that in capital letters and feel good is you have a lot of courage. I mean, not just you, but resilience. I'm a Lions fan. I know it's kind of the same thing, right? Like not. It's not. I mean, because the Lions are a shit show. Like, but
Rhonda's a Michigan and Browns fan, so she knows the struggle right now with football.
See, and I'm a Lions and Ohio State fan, so it's like me and Rhonda are kind of on the same level, but a different level.
Yep. Absolutely. Let's get on to our game of the week. Our game of the week this week, the Titans traveling to face the Ravens. That is a 1:00 kickoff at M&T Bank Stadium. It will be on CBS, and it will be the Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson gang.
Jim Nantz wants big money, by the way.
Oh, yeah? I didn't hear that.
He wants to match the $17.5 million they're giving Tony Romo.
You give him that if you're CBS?
First of all, Jim Nantz is a damn treasure. I'll give him $25 million. But I'm not. I mean, I'm not a competent person that could run a business like CBS. So I'm not. I'm not.
I think you need to keep Jim Nantz happy. Jim Nantz is phenomenal at his job. It's not an easy job.
Jim Nantz does everything. He does golf. Jim Nantz is a treasure.
Absolutely. So Titans 6-3, Ravens 6-3. Both teams coming off a loss last week. 34-17 loss for the Colts, or to the Colts for the Titans, and a 23-17 loss to the New England Patriots for the Baltimore Ratbirds. Who you like in this game?
Tennessee.
You're going to take Tennessee?
I do. I really am kind of concerned with the way Baltimore's playing offensively. We've talked about it. Lamar Jackson was super awesome last year.
It was.
His receivers just seem to be just props outside of a screen game at this point. They haven't ran the ball effectively. We kind of touched on it last week. You said the game that I felt the best about was New England, New England against them.
Yep.
And New England went in and they beat them. So for me, I not even the spread wise, I think Tennessee wins the game. I think Baltimore's got some things to figure out. They're a way different team than they were last year. The offense looks completely different. Again, we talked about this. They ran 3 tight end sets last year. that gave him the ability to have an extra blocker and get things going in the running game, which is what Lamar Jackson needs. I'm not saying he's just a running back, but he's not a guy that can sit back and throw it 35 times.
No, he's absolutely not. And I think both teams, in order to win this game, need to run the football. This could be like a 2-hour football game. For the Ravens to really get going, I think they finally need to commit the ball to their young rookie running back and J.K. Dobbins to get him going, because when this team is going, it's running the football. And I'm going to take Lamar Jackson to actually get the W here. I think it's going to be a tight game, and I think it can be an ugly game. But when it comes down to an ugly game that's really based on running and defense, Ravens defense is better. Ravens special teams are better. I think that's what it comes down to.
You love
Give me
Lamar
Justin.
Jackson.
I do like Lamar Jackson. I just traded him in fantasy, though, because I'm running with Justin Herbert, baby. Herbert and Ernie all day. But I am going to take the Ravens in this game. We're losing it here tonight. It is ridiculous. But, yeah, I'm going with the Ravens. You're going to go with the Titans. That is our game of the week this week. Let's move on. It is going to be a good one. 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS. Next game, we got Detroit Lions 4-5 at the Carolina Panthers. Who you got? Detroit.
No explanation. For me, they're a shitty team. It's going to be no CMC, no Teddy Bridgepiece. I'm going to go with the terrible Lions.
DeAndre Swift play in this game?
Apparently he's got a concussion randomly out of nowhere, so I honestly have no idea. Kerryon Johnson's got like 3 carries on the year. Apparently, it's going to be like handing it to the ghost of Adrian Peterson again 36 times.
I also am going to take Detroit. I hope DeAndre Swift plays, because when they give him the football, like
he's awesome. He's electric.
They're a different football team. They are fun to watch. Philadelphia Eagles 3-5-1 travel to Cleveland, face 6-3 Cleveland Browns. Who you like in this one? Who?
Cleveland. Sorry, Cleveland Browns.
Broke up there for a second. This is kind of a trap game for me. I mean, is Philadelphia really as bad as they played recently?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. That's all you had to say. I'm with you. I'm going to take the Browns to win it. Hopefully, Carson Wentz just doesn't figure out that he was an okay quarterback at one point, because he's played like the worst quarterback in the NFL. New England Patriots 4-5 at Houston. Who you got?
New England.
I'm going to take the Texans in this one.
Terrible pick.
I think so too. I'm not sure why, but that's what my gut told me.
Most of Bill O'Brien are just swirling around the Houston Texans. Do you think the ghosts of Bill O'Brien aren't real? You think DeAndre Hopkins having that Hail Mary touchdown last week, that was the ghost of Bill O'Brien.
Lifting him up.
Yep, lifting him up. That's what he does.
Pittsburgh Steelers 9-0 at Jacksonville 1-8.
Pittsburgh.
Any chance for the Jags in this one?
No.
I agree. 10-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. Disgusting. Atlanta Falcons 3-6 at the Jameis Winston-led 7-2 New Orleans Saints. Who you got?
Jameis is going to eat a dub.
Eating the W, baby. Bengals traveling to Washington to face the football team.
Burrow.
Who you got? Burrow.
Yeah, Bengals.
I as well. And did you see the report that football team is actually in the running for the official name of the Washington franchise right now? They're thinking about keeping it as Washington Football Team. What are your thoughts on that?
Pretty on par for the Washington Football Team.
Well said. Nothing else to add to that. Miami Dolphins 6-3 at Denver Broncos 3-6. Denver. Even if Drew Lock doesn't play?
Well, no. If Drew Lock doesn't play, then I'm gonna take Miami. But let's not act like Miami is awesome at this point. Tua Tagovailoa is going to go through growing pains. Drew Lock has been kind of terrible, but
Drew Lock has been kind of terrible, and he's put up most of his stats in the fourth quarter of basically blowouts.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see that. I'm going to take the Dolphins, and yes, the Dolphins aren't a great football team, but they are very
I love what they're doing.
Football team.
We talked about them in the offseason a lot. With their cap space and what they did. Mm-hmm. And I remember saying how I would love the Jordan Howard signing, by the way. They cut his ass this week. So I'll eat crow for that one. But we talked about the Dolphins a lot. They had a bunch of cap space and a bunch of picks.
Yep. And they, going into this offseason, same thing. And they can build a hell of a squad around Tua. And Tua looks like he's a real deal. Not asking him to do too much, just letting him ride. And he's done an excellent job.
Needs a lefty quarterback. The NFL needs a lefty starter.
Yep.
It should almost be like the Rooney Rule. You have to have a left-handed starter. You know what I mean?
At least one in the league.
Yeah, you have to have at least one left-handed starter in the league. Whether it's Mark Brunell, who's 60. Somebody's got to be in the league.
They get together at the owners meeting every year, and they're like, what team doesn't have a quarterback they're sure of this year? 6 teams raise their hand, kind of like,
you
okay.
get Cade McNown.
You pick your guy. You get the lefty. Draw straws. Oh, man. We got the lefty. Yep. Bring him in. All right. New York Jets 0-9 at Los Angeles Chargers 2-7, 4:05 kickoff at SoFi Stadium.
I think Justin Herbert finally wins a game. Like,
you think he finally wins the game?
Like these close, yes. I mean, come on, the Jets are the Jets. The Jets will try for 3 quarters, and then Adam Gase will be like, all right, hey guys, let's relax a little bit. But the thing is like Adam Gase isn't tanking because Adam Gase's ass is going to be fired the minute the season's over. So Adam Gase is
2-0. 2-0 against the Chargers.
No, I was like, what, 2-0?
No, 2-0 against the Chargers.
He's 2-1.
2-1. You thought my pick earlier of taking the Texans.
Terrible pick. This is a terrible pick.
Terrible pick alert. Jets, baby. I'm taking the Jets to get their first win because, listen, it is really hard to go 0-16 unless you just have the worst coaching in the world. And I've seen it. So have you.
I've seen it too.
And Adam Gase, he's terrible. But I think they can get one win. I think they can go 1-15. I'm picking this as their win. Jets get on the board. Why am I doing this?
Wait, is Sam Darnold alive? Like, what's the deal? Like, who's their like is? Because I need questions that need answered.
Sam Darnold is out. I believe it's Joe Flacco this week.
What what is Sam Darnold like? Is he like dead? I know he got injured, but he's been out 13 weeks. Like, what the hell is going on here?
I think he's keeping himself out of games, or they're keeping him out of games to keep his value up.
Jesus
is what it's coming down to.
What a disaster of an organization.
I don't have any other answer. We're gonna have to bring some Jets people on to talk about that at some point.
They're in hiding. They're bunkered down in their caves at this point. They're not coming on anything.
Yeah, the last Jets guy has come on the show said yes and then disappeared on me.
Yeah.
Green Bay Packers 7-2 at Indianapolis Colts 6-3. Who you got?
Packers. I'm gonna take the Packers here.
Take the Packers. Cowboys travel to the Vikings, led by Andy Dalton here. Vikings move to 500 or do?
Yeah, I'm gonna take the Vikings. I just I'm worried about that offensive line, and Andy Dalton sucks.
He does. Kansas City Chiefs 8-1 at Las Vegas Raiders. This is our Sunday night football game. Last time these two teams faced, it was a 40-32 victory, followed by a victory lap around the stadium.
I don't like it for my boy Chucky. I gotta take Mahomes, man. I love the Raiders, man.
Yeah,
they're like my second team, just because I love Chucky, but you can't take they know about that victory lap. They're not happy.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Pat gets his team ready and says, you know what? Let's put one on them at their home stadium.
Bulletin board material.
Los Angeles Rams 6-3, who I called a fake good team, and then they put a whooping on the Seattle Seahawks last week. They travel to Tampa to face the 7-3 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers moved to 8-3.
Yes.
Buccaneers moved to 8-3. I am going to agree with that, and those are our Week 11 picks and our Week 11 preview. I am up 7 games currently on Drew, but I took some bad guesses this week at some games. He may catch up. We will find out. Last time I took a terrible pick, I hit it. So we'll see if my terrible picks come forward. And my terrible pick of the week is the Jets and the Texans. 2 terrible picks this week. We'll see what happens. And let's move on to one of our favorite segments. It is Ward's Wagers. 43-18-2 in 2019, 11-9-1 on this COVID.
We're in positive.
2020. We are in the positive there. Brother, who do you like in Ward's Wagers this week?
I like 4 road teams this week. We're starting out Tennessee at Baltimore. We touched on this game. Baltimore's giving 5 points to Tennessee on the road. Too many points. 64% of the public with Tennessee. Second game is going to be Detroit at Carolina. Now, listen, you guys know I don't like to homer pick my Lions here. However, no CMC, no Teddy Bridgewater. I'm going to take the Lions -1.5. Next is Green Bay heading to Indy. Green Bay +2. Green Bay's getting points on the road. I'm always taking that. Finally, New England heading to Houston. Houston's getting 2. I'll even take the -2 there for the Patriots on the road. So again, I got Tennessee +5, Detroit -1.5, Green Bay +2, New England -2. That's it.
I do like the picks there. I do like the Homer pick. I was trying to pull up the Homer Simpson picture as you put it up, and I did not make it quite in time. Brother, anything else you want to hit on the show tonight?
No, man, it was a good show. Always enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Look forward to the next one.
And next week, we will be on a different night. We may be on Wednesday night. We will let you know for sure. Follow us on Twitter at SomervilleCLE, at FCFS Pod, or at Detroit Dave 7. Thank you to our guest tonight at Detroit Beastie for joining as always. And he always comes in 100% high energy.
He's the man, dude.
Absolutely, man. Does excellent work. Make sure you do follow him on Twitter. He will help you with DFS. Get that bottom of the barrel article. It will help you win some money in some of those games. Get you that money to get that Xbox Series X, that PS5, whatever it is you want to buy this holiday season. He will help you do that by following. Just follow it. I mean, I won $40 off of it, and then I decided to go away from it. I blew all that money I won.
That's better.
Do it. We will be live here probably Wednesday night. We'll let you know for sure. But until then, goodbye. We will see you next week. Probably. Check out our Facebook page, fb.me/FCFS pod. Check out the audio versions available anywhere you get your pods, Spotify, Apple Pods, Google Pods, iHeartRadio, Anchor.fm. Thank you to our sponsors. Thank you to Chris, Drew. Thank you to you.
Yes, sir.
And as always, remember, if you live the life you love the life you live. Night, kids.